Okay, so I just thought I'd do an update on this, having worn it for 2 weeks non-stop, just to see if my first impressions still hold true or not. There is a 20-minute video going into this watch in a lot more detail than this will. This is literally just meant to be an update and some reflection and my thoughts on the watch. Yeah, that's it. So the negatives obviously still hold true. There was a small hair underneath the dial. I will get that rectified by a local watchmaker. The crown is wobbly. I'll get that rectified by a watchmaker, but it might not need it. It works absolutely fine, so it might not need to be sorted. And the clasp I got with this watch was pants. So having bought this clasp makes a really big difference, and I'd recommend everyone, if you can, get your hands on one of those. The other observations were, while the bezel has a very nice sound, and it is very accurate, it still obviously just has that tiny bit of play, but I think that's just as a result of it being a ball bearing actuated bezel. And it is still quite stiff, but it has loosened up a touch with more use. The clasp absolutely needs to be washed in warm water 2 or 3 times at least. This particular, get the right way around, that way, got it eventually. This lever here that you push with your thumb, that was almost impossible to do when I first got the watch. So you need to wash the watch at least 2 or 3 times with warm soapy water, just to, I don't know if it's manufacturing debris or something that's in there, but it was very, very difficult to use, and pulling out this section here was a bit rough, but now it's really good to use, no problems with it whatsoever. Also, I do wash or rinse my watches every day after use, just to get rid of any dead skin that might be in there, because that can also get into these mechanisms and make them less effective, but also it looks disgusting. So yeah, absolutely you need to wash the clasp 2 or 3 times at least, just to loosen it up and get it to work effectively. I am now moving this at least once, twice a day, depending on the size of my wrist, and I absolutely love having a micro adjusting clasp. Neither my 2 Tudors or my Omega have it, and I really am noticing the difference of having that. The bracelet is extremely comfortable. The only thing I've noticed is that it doesn't articulate back on itself, and obviously it doesn't need to, because you're not going to wear the watch like that. But when you look at something like either of my other watches, you can just see how much additional articulation there is for the links going back on themselves. So I can literally fold that up against itself and that way as well. Whereas with this watch, while it does that way, it doesn't do that way, and that must be to do with the design of the links. Hasn't caused me any problems, just something of note. Also, I am quite a hairy chap, you can see, and it doesn't pull my hairs at all, which is quite important, because you don't want to be walking around and constantly getting your hairs pulled out. Not exactly pleasant. So the bracelet is actually very, very nice and extraordinarily comfortable, far more comfortable than I actually thought it would be for this price point. When setting the time, the only thing I have noticed with the GMT hand is on this watch, as you can see there, it's the GMT hand that moves independently without hacking the seconds hand, which I find a bit odd, because on my Tudor I think it's actually done the right way, whereby when you fly you want the local hand to be the one that you can adjust independently, and the GMT holds true to GMT time. And then you move the bezel as you want to for your 3rd time zone, but everything's always plus or minus GMT. And this isn't a complaint with Zelos, it's obviously a movement thing, and it's with ETA. But yeah, I find that a little bit strange, that it's the GMT hand that moves in isolation. Yeah, but that is what it is. It's not a massive problem, it's just something, again, that I've noticed. The only other observation really was that some of these screws, where are they? Were a little bit loose. So it's brilliant that it is a screw-in bracelet. I much prefer that. It makes it far easier for me to adjust the strap, but some of those screws were quite loose. 2 or 3 turns of a screwdriver to tighten them up. So if you do get a Zelos on a bracelet and you have a screwdriver, or if you don't have one, buy one and just check all the screws to make sure they are tight, or you risk them unthreading themselves, falling out, watch on the floor. You don't want to do that. So all the good stuff about the watch. Overall, the finishing of the case, the bracelet, the dial is absolutely exceptional. I cannot believe that this is a £750 watch or $900 watch. I'm absolutely blown away with it. I've talked about it before, so I'm not going to labour the point, but the case finishing with the polishing that comes down the flank here on the chamfer, across the bottom, and then it's followed all the way across the top of the bracelet. The bracelet has no sharp edges. It's extremely comfortable to wear. You've got crystal on the back for the display back. As you can see, not only, I did notice, there you go, you can see the Z on the custom rotor as well. Obviously this is the decorated movement, but it's just done so well for the price. The quality of the loom being C3X1 I think it is, and BGW9. The steel being 316L steel, just it feels solid. Look, I've talked about the clasp already. Not only does, to my mind, it looks nice. I do prefer the slightly newer one they've got now, which is all brushed, but the quality of it is far, far better than I originally thought it would be. Yes, I needed to do some cleaning on it to get it to work how it does now, but it's just far superior compared to what I thought it would be. One of the most impressive things with this is the timekeeping. So it's an ETA high grade Elabor movement, and I've managed to get it to +2 seconds a day, exactly +2 seconds a day. It might actually come slightly under that to 1.8, 1.9 with the latest timekeeping results I've seen with it, and that's being worn during the day and then being left kind of like that in my watch box upwards, so dial forwards quite a lot overnight. So +2 seconds a day. That way just blew my expectations. I was not expecting that at all. And then the fact that you also get the rubber strap, the box, the watch roll, and also I found out that it does have anti-reflective coating on the crystal. I did wonder, because doing this, I wasn't getting much glare at all. So I did go onto the forum and ask, and there is anti-reflective coating on the underside of the crystal. So that's another benefit I wasn't even aware of with these watches. I could go on, but as I say, this is supposed to be a slightly shorter video. So you would have to just go to the 20-minute one to look at all the specs and the details about the loom and the loom shot at night time and so on. Because loom is just fantastic, and the way it picks up the sunlight to charge the loom, doesn't even need much of it. It's a gem. It's really, really good. So overall, my conclusions would be that the watch is undeniably exceptional value for money, absolutely exceptional value for money. I would only buy watches with ETOs. I'm just not a fan of Miyotas. I'm a little bit of a movement snob, but the fact that I've got a £750 watch with the quality of the case, the bracelet, the clasp, the dial, and a movement that's only 2 seconds a day fast for £750, that's unreal. I don't think there's anything else you can get out there with this package for that price. So obviously I understand why the Miyota movements and other movements are used, because it keeps the price point an entry point down for the watches, and it means that they can be enjoyed by more people. And obviously what you're still getting, even if you get a Miyota movement or a different movement, you're still getting the quality of the bracelet, the case, the dial, and all the other really great things that I've talked about. So I'm blown away with it, to be honest with you. I really liked it when I first opened it. For the price, I just can't believe how good it is. I kind of bought it expecting it to be something that I'd keep for a couple of weeks and then potentially move on, but it's going to be one of the ones that stays with me for a long time as my white dial option. I'll take it traveling with me a lot. I can put the rubber strap on it, so I don't have to completely destroy the bracelet when I do use it to go traveling into theme parks and such. It's an absolute corker. If you're on the fence, I'd say go and get it, because the price almost put me off. I understand it's not massively cheap, and I'm not trying to say that $900 is bargain, but when you look at the multiple thousands of dollars you pay for other watches, this punches way above its weight. So yeah, if you're on the fence, go and get one. And if you've got any questions, just join the Facebook group, because they're all fantastic. And there you go, look, I've kept it under 10 minutes. So yeah, brilliant watch, brilliant company.